We've looked at how the British took control of the forests in India, but that pattern stretched far beyond the subcontinent. European empires applied these same tactics to environments all over the globe. If we travel 3,000 miles east, across the Indian Ocean, we arrive at the island of Java, located in modern-day Indonesia. During the 18th and 19th centuries, this territory was ruled by an entirely different European power, the Dutch colonial empire. Even though Java was ruled by the Dutch, its native forests faced the same threat as those in India. It reveals how different empires utilized the same strategies for resource extraction. In Java, the primary target of Dutch extraction was one highly coveted natural resource, the native teak forest. Look at this photograph of a teak forest. Notice the tall, straight, uniform trunks. Teak is a remarkably durable wood, naturally producing oils that make it highly resistant to water rot and hungry insects. Those specific physical properties solved a critical problem for the Dutch. To maintain their vast global trade network, they needed strong, long-lasting timber to build massive ships and solid infrastructure. To the Dutch authorities, these vibrant ecosystems were simply stockpiles of raw shipbuilding material waiting to be harvested. They did not view them as the homes of local communities. To justify taking absolute control, the Dutch enacted an official policy known as scientific forestry. This system allowed the forest department to control tree cutting, harvesting old growth, and replanting trees to ensure a steady timber supply. First, officials surveyed the landscape, dividing the natural forest into a strict mathematical grid. Next, the Dutch cut down all native species, stripping the land bare. Finally, they replanted the cleared land with one profitable tree, teak, arranged in perfectly straight, harvestable rows. Despite the name, this system had little to do with ecological conservation. The Dutch had built a system of agricultural factory farming, designed entirely to maximize their timber revenue. These new colonial forest laws had an immediate impact on the native Javanese villagers living there. Overnight, survival activities were criminalized. Villagers were banned from grazing cattle, collecting forest fruits, or cutting wood for their homes. The enforcement was harsh. A villager could face punishment simply for traveling on a forest road with their cattle or carts without carrying a colonial permit. Then came a significant shift in labor. The Dutch instituted a system of compulsory, poorly paid work, forcing the local villagers to cut and transport the very trees that had just been taken from them. These laws forced independent, self-sustaining forest dwellers into a captive workforce on their own ancestral lands. But around 1890, a villager from a teak forest community named Sarantiko Salmon began to openly question the Dutch authority. Salmon presented a simple, logical argument against the empire. He pointed out that the colonial state did not create the wind. They did not create the water, or the earth, or the wood. Because the state did not create nature, Salmon argued, it could not possibly own the forest. The land inherently belongs to the community that lives with it. This idea resonated deeply across Java. It grew into a widespread resistance movement, with thousands of local families adopting Salmon's philosophy. Salmon's movement stood as an intellectual and philosophical rejection of the very concept of colonial ownership. When Dutch officials arrived to survey the land, the Salmonists used specific, nonviolent tactics to protest. Protesters would lie down on their land, refusing to move. At the same time, others collectively refused to pay colonial taxes or perform the mandatory forest labor. The Dutch commodified Java's teak forests using the methods of scientific management, turning complex ecosystems into regulated timber farms. They restricted traditional native rights to achieve this, but the Salmon movement found peaceful ways to push back and claim their inherent right to the land. Think about the shared struggles of the forest communities in India and the Salmonists in Java. These separate events demonstrate how consistent imperial management strategies altered the global environment and the lives of those within it.